Hi, welcome back to Zack of All Trades. It's New Year's Day, which makes it, of course, time for my New Year's resolution. Last night, as the last few wee moments of 2017 ticked off into the sunset, I sat contemplating what sort of thing or things should I resolve to do here in 2018. I thought about the fitness goals and the personal betterment initiatives and all the other pile of stuff that tends to get relegated into the heap of resolutions that weren't so resolute by about January 18th. And then it struck me. My New Year's resolution is to work on my hot rod today. Many of you know the story of my old Camaro, but many of you don't. The long and short of it is that I bought this old creature just a few days after I graduated high school, back in the late 1900s. Over the last number of years, due to one thing or another, she's kind of wound up just sitting, and the last time that I drove her was when I moved to this new house a while back, and during that drive, the water pump went south. And that truly, outside of registration, is the only thing that's wrong with it. For a long time, I didn't really see the need to make room in the budget to go buy a water pump for a car that's just kind of recreational anyway, but I did eventually go buy a new water pump, and at the price of something like $27 for a brand new one, not remanufactured, man, that was almost fun to pay for. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to open up the hood, I'm going to suck out some of the spider webs that are undoubtedly there, and replace the water pump. Then I'm going to see if she won't fire up. Oh, look at that. Not nearly as many spider webs as I anticipated. I don't even see any live spiders. Clearly it's not necessary, per se, to suck the spider webs out. They're not going to hurt anything, not in this process anyhow, but one of the things that I've learned over the years is if you have the ability to make your working environment a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, especially if it doesn't cost you much in the way of time or effort, why not? I don't know of anybody out there who enjoys the feeling of having cobwebs tangled up on their fingers while they're trying to work, and just that little, I don't know, getting rid of some of those little annoyances just makes whatever you're doing, at least as far as I'm concerned, makes whatever you're doing a lot more pleasant. One of the things that I really enjoy about working on old cars, and I think that most people that turn wrenches would agree with this, is the fact that they're so much simpler to work on, so much easier to get to everything. Now obviously mine's been somewhat modified over my years of good decisions and bad decisions as well to make it easier to get into the engine compartment. But even without my silly modifications, it's so much easier to get to stuff in here than trying to work on something newer, even a bit newer. When I changed the engine in my zombie Jeep, it was so much more shoehorned in there. What are we doing here? That I couldn't even believe how tough it was to get stuff in and get stuff out. But this is just downright pleasant to work on. And the other thing is, it doesn't take but about a half a dozen tools, a 1/2 inch wrench, a 9/16 wrench, those same sockets, and I don't know, maybe a flat screwdriver. I think that's about all the tools that are going to be required in order to do this. So it's really nice. So what I'm doing here, just for sake of explanation, is I loosened up the alternator, Now I'm removing the alternator bracket, and I'm going to put all the bolts back in their respective holes as I'm taking them out. I have done this a lot of times on this car, but it has been, man, it's been quite a number of years since I've done so. So just so that I don't forget where something goes, I'm going to put those bolts back where they came from. And then when it comes to time to put in the new water pump, I'll just swap them over onto the new one. Now I'm going to pull out the fan. If I can do it without cutting my fingers. Would be probably a little bit better to do this if I removed the radiator or the fan shroud, but I'm not going to do that today. So invariably somebody's going to ask, is this thing stock, or if it's not, what's been done to it? So some of the high points are the heads. I have camel hump heads out of a 67 Firebird. Some people call them camel hump, some people call them double hump, but at any rate, that's what they are. They were back in the day, 60s, 70s. They were a fairly sought after item. They are, of course, hardly comparable to modern technology, Edelbrock Performer stuff and whatnot, but for factory parts, it was the way to go. So these are double hump heads with 202 160 valves in them. They started life with 64cc combustion chambers. They have been milled down to something slightly smaller than that. I don't have the exact spec on that, but they are smaller than that, which of course makes it a higher compression engine. Meaning also that it does not run on regular fuel, regular unleaded. So she runs on premium and premium only. The pistons are flat top pistons, forged flat top pistons. It's got a Comp Cam's 268H cam and Edelbrock Performer intake and carburetor. So it's some pretty basic upgrade stuff, but it's incredible how much difference that those few items made in the performance of this thing. Let's see, how do I get that out? Gears out back are currently, what are the gears? I think they're currently 273 open gears. I have a set of 373s and a posi unit to go in eventually. I put the 273s in it once upon a time, but then after trying to drive it with 273 open differential, I decided that I wouldn't do that again. I wouldn't put those 273s back in until I had the opportunity to put a posi drive in it. I subsequently got the posi and then just have never gotten around to doing it. So that'll be a project coming up. It probably won't be real soon, to be honest, but it'll come up before too awful long, hopefully. And that's about it. That's about the story of the car. It's a 76, contrary to what the front end looks like. It's a 76. It has currently, it has just over 100,000 original miles on it. And I have had it from coast to coast and pretty much everywhere in between. When I bought it, it had, I think it had 52,000 original miles when I bought it from the local pastor's wife, of all people, who was the second owner. and she had driven it back and forth to college, and the guy before that had supposedly washed and waxed the car more than he drove it. So she's been pretty well taken care of. Had a pretty easy life. That is, of course, until I got a hold of her and cut my teeth on auto mechanics on this car. Made a lot of dumb mistakes, or just dumb moves. But I also made a few good moves, and there she sits. Alright, I think I need a pan. Doesn't get more shade tree than this, folks. There's a drip pan for you. Not pretty, but it'll catch the antifreeze as it comes out. Let's see how big of a mess this makes, shall we? Oh, not too shabby. There we go. One dead water pump. Alright, now on my new water pump, I'm going to apply a thin skin of goop. This particular goop that I'm using, I think is some of the coolest goop out there. It's called Right Stuff. Look at this stuff. It's awesome. Works for everything. My biggest reason why I'm going to put this on here is just a little, I don't know, just a little added insurance. Make my gasket seal up. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions on what gets sealant when, what does not get sealant. And if you disagree, that's fine. But this is the way that I like to do it. Hold that guy on there. Same thing over here. I guess I didn't show you that at all, did I? Just enough to make the whole surface gooey here. And then apply the gasket. Get it on there fairly aligned. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And again, this is probably unnecessary, so if you feel like it is, that's okay. Don't feel like you need to tell me that it's unnecessary, because I realize it might be. Alright, in she goes. Alright. And now we just put everything back together that we took apart. And that's all there is to it. That whole job used this many tools. 2 ratchets, 3 sockets, 2 extensions, 2 wrenches, and 1 screwdriver. So she's back together. Should we give it a shot? Check the oil. Oh yeah. A wee bit of go juice. A fire extinguisher. Let's see what we got. Oh. More go juice. Let's go for a ride. Well, that was fun. I'm glad you could come along. Happy New Year. Let's do this more often, shall we? Thanks for watching. Take care.